Isn't there a place to hide anymore? Isn't there a lock on this door? Isn't there time?
Welcome, Traleg Rinpoche. It's the first time he's been in Norway. He resides in Australia and he's now touring. And I know that Rinpoche, he's going to talk about the subject tonight is the psychology of waking up. What that means is probably for you to wake up now so you can hear the talk. But I think Rinpoche will feel that with another meaning. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. As Fleming mentioned, this is my first time here in Oslo, and it's a great pleasure for me to be here this evening and to have the opportunity to have this discussion on the topic of psychology of waking up. Confusions, my bewilderment, where do these things come from? And how come that my life is unsatisfactory? Why do I feel incomplete? Begins to make sense. Because the idea of waking up suggests that in one way or another we've been asleep. We have not been fully conscious. We have not been fully aware. This is why we suffer. This is why we experience unhappiness from Buddhist point of view. Now, this of course does not mean that things cannot go wrong in the external world. It's not always the case that things will work out. Emotions such as excessive desire, excessive anger, jealousy, pride, and so on, that mingled with feelings of pleasure or pain, color everything that we experience, attitudes and beliefs that we have, that we harbor in ourselves. So, therefore, I don't know whether this is becoming a bit too academic and boring for you, but if it is becoming too academic and boring, you can tell me, this is boring, please make it sort of lighten it up a bit, and so that we won't have to fall asleep. But nonetheless, from Buddhist point of view, this is actually quite an important thing to understand. Because often what we are thinking in terms of our life is that the events in the external world is going to determine what sort of life I have, you know, whether I have a good job or not, whether I have a spouse, a wife or husband that is going to love me for the rest of my life, whether I will have money in the bank and a decent car to drive and a holiday house and a yacht and a Porsche. But anyway, you know, if I have these things, then my life will be full and enjoyable. And of course, we cannot forget the children, you know, the loving, caring children who are going to be forever grateful for having been brought up. So the idea of learning how to become conscious of these underlying tendencies, how to become cognizant that does not pay as well, or you know, wife who complains all the time. But it does mean, you know, it does mean that we do have to, nonetheless, not all experiences as well, and we cannot avoid them. But if we have learned to sort of become more awakened, and so thereby gaining some kind of more self-knowledge to do with our behavior, but from Buddhist point of view, the mental habits are even more entrenched and intractable, so therefore we have to learn to deal with those. And Buddhist meditation, for example, is particularly designed for that, to, I suppose, what you might call deconditioning, you know, the deconditioning the mind, deconditioning mental habits, so that, you know, for example, as if we reflect on ourselves, we have no power over our thoughts. We have no power over our feelings and emotions, whether we like them or not, whether we like it or not. You know, if you spend just even a second sort of looking at your own mind, you will find that you have no power over what sort of thoughts are going to crop up in your mind, or what sort of feelings are going to arise, or what sort of emotions. Even if you want to have really good thoughts, that doesn't mean you will have good thoughts, you know? And even if you want to have really very good feelings, positive feelings, loving feelings, that doesn't mean you will have positive and loving feelings. I mean, so if that being the case, then we cannot have, you know, we cannot have a life which is, what would you call it? Life which is balanced, life, obsessive and compulsive kind of tendencies of the mind. You know? So even when Buddhism is talking about suffering, you know, and many people know this to be true, and then think of Buddhism as a pessimistic religion as a result of that. But that's a misunderstanding, because the reason why Buddhism talks about suffering is because Buddhism is emphasizing happiness so much. It's only through understanding suffering that we can attain happiness. I mean, this is what Buddhism is teaching. So if we understand what is making us unhappy, then we will know how to find happiness. Then one cannot be divorced from oneself. If the conditions, if we have created the appropriate conditions, mental conditions in our own mind for ourselves to be happy, then we will be happy, because those conditions are always with us. But there's no such guarantee in relation to things external. And this is why if we put some effort into mind training and into mental discipline, you know, just like physical discipline, we will be rewarded, and we will gain more insight into ourselves, and as a result, we will learn how to wake up and how not to be asleep.
I wanted to talk to him, you know?
Oh, really?
Because he say that you say what is not, and if you know what is not, then what everything else it is. You know, why couldn't you look at it like this way instead of going around the cave?
Now the wind is high and it howls through my eyes. In my head I see endless skies. Isn't there